This Week in Startups is brought to you by Cisco Spark. Get video meetings, team messaging, digital whiteboarding, file sharing, and calling all in one secure app. Visit ciscospark.com to learn more and sign up for free.
Hey everybody, welcome to This Week in Startups. This is a show where we meet founders of companies and talk about the technology industry, how to grow your company. And today, boy, do we have a treat for you. I have 6 different companies. All of them are doing really fascinating products. They're all smaller than, let's say, 15 or so employees. They're all under $1 million in revenue. They've just graduated from the Urban X incubator in New York City, Accelerator incubator. And I have to say, out of the 6 companies I interview in this episode, I think I'd be willing to take a meeting with all 6, might invest in 2 or 3 of them if I drilled down and it looked like it was a huge opportunity, but I was really, really impressed by this early incubator class. So in 1 hour, you're gonna get 6 great companies all presenting on the amazing, beautiful Cisco Spark board, which makes all things possible: conferencing, great audio, great video, whiteboarding, and group chat. I love my Cisco Spark board. I couldn't live without it, and I couldn't do this episode without it. So thanks to my friends at Cisco for supporting independent media like This Week in Startups and these 6 amazing companies. All right, we'll be right back. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of This Week in Startups. This is the podcast I've been hosting for 8 or 9 years. We're getting close to a decade. And on this podcast, we interview founders of companies, sometimes investors in companies, and we do a news roundtable. But today we're getting back to our roots. Everybody says, oh my God, you're talking too much on the podcast about Google and Apple and Airbnb and Uber and Microsoft, Netflix, all the big companies, Amazon. They're super active, right? They're releasing a lot of products, and we forget they're not startups anymore, right? These are the big blue chip companies now with billions to tens of billions of dollars in revenue. So today we're going to get back to our roots and we're going to meet 6 very young companies, nascent companies, small companies. I believe all of them are pre-Series A. They come to us from the Urban X Accelerator in New York City. My friend Stonely, who was recently on the Angel podcast. If you don't know the Angel podcast, that's my other podcasts at angelpodcast.com. And these would be early stage companies, which is where I exist as an investor. I exist in an area called the Goldilocks zone, or what we refer to as the Goldilocks zone. Not too hot and not too cold. Too hot would be these companies have a Series A, they've raised tens of millions of dollars or over $10 million, and there's a bunch of venture capitalists battling it out. And too cold would be, I have an idea, I have a business plan, I've written a white paper, but I've done nothing. I have no team, I have no product. So these are the companies that are right in that not too hot, not too cold zone. Now, I am known for being extremely candid at times. Sometimes I hurt people's feelings, but I assure you today I will be on my best behavior when I crush the souls of these founders and tell them exactly how hard their lives will be. Hopefully nobody cries. There is no crying in startups. Everybody knows that. My first founder, we're going to get right to it, is John Shin, and he is from Loon Wave. Now, it's important for you to know that I have not reviewed the companies ahead of time. They all went to an accelerator. They all graduated from that accelerator, so they should have a certain level of quality. But I'm going to give them 2 minutes to pitch me as if they're pitching an angel, because in fact, they are pitching an angel. I invest in 30 or 40 companies a year. It's quite possible I might invest in one of these. And this would be the first moment for me to get to know those companies. Welcome to the program, John Shin. I pronounced it correctly?
Yes.
X-I-N, but it's pronounced Shin. Yeah. And your company is Loon Wave. You have 2 minutes on the clock. 3, 2, go.
I'm John Shin, CEO of Loon Wave. With our next generation radar sensor, Loon Wave is going to make autonomous vehicles safe and affordable. Every major automaker has a roadmap in place today to release various levels of autonomous vehicle in the next few years. Today, these cars rely on sensors like LiDAR and camera to see the world around them, but they have a problem. During bad weather, this is what camera and LiDAR see. The problem is physics. Now, radar, on the other hand, will function in poor weather conditions, but today's radar sensors simply cannot see enough in detail. This is where Loon Wave comes in. Our team has found a way to solve the traditional shortcomings of radar sensor. The result is comparable to LiDAR at a fraction of the cost, but most importantly, it works in poor weather conditions. Having validated our alpha product in 2017, major automotive players have already signed up written agreements to purchase our sensors in 2018 and beyond. As of today, we have demand for 250,000 units. We also expect to receive about $1 million in non-dilutive funding as part of the NSF SBIR program. At the heart of Loon Wave's sensor solution is a patented process to cheaply 3D print a high-frequency Lunenburg antenna that no other company in the world has the ability to fabricate. We have an incredibly strong team. Our CTO came out of MIT's Lincoln Lab and built missile defense systems at Raytheon. Our business team has extensive experience in bringing new product to market and creating strategic partnerships with auto OEMs. As we expect to receive about $1 million as part of the SBIR program, we are in the process of filling out the rest of our seed round. Thank you.
Okay, well done. As you can see, you've been coached on how to give a great presentation. This presentation was very tight and very concise. In 2 minutes, we learned almost everything we need to know to have a reasonable discussion about your startup. So that's really success for a founder. Most founders cannot get across that much information that concisely in under 2 minutes, and you did it in 1 minute and 52 seconds. So your pitch was very tight. Congratulations on that, John. Now, when I look at this, I would say to people who are angel investors listening that there are moments in time when I realize I have to do some detective work. What is that detective work I have to do? Well, I've got to figure out exactly how real this is. That will require some technical due diligence that would occur by having people visit your lab and talking to experts in the field. But I'll start with some light due diligence now, which is I'm going to ask you a series of questions and let's see how well you can answer them. Are you ready, John?
Sure, of course.
Okay, first off, you say you have agreements and you showed about 12 companies on the screen.
Yep.
Of those 12 you showed, how many of them do you have agreements with?
6 right now. We have a written
hold on.
Yep.
So you showed 12 logos, but you only have agreements with 6 of them.
Yep.
Why would you show another 6 that you don't have agreements with?
The rest of them are at various stages of signature signing and negotiation.
Got it. Okay. Yep. And so this is an important lesson for you as a founder and also for angel investors listening. Founders exaggerate at times. When you exaggerate as a founder, when you it's either exaggeration or being super optimistic. What happens is it could lower your credibility. So the credibility was going way up during this presentation. I saw those 12 people and I said, wow, how do I not know about this already? Because he's got 12 of the greatest people ever. And I said, I wonder if that's actually accurate or if I have to reinterpret what John's at Loon Wave's position is on what constitutes an agreement. Okay, so you have half and half. So here's the way to say that. Okay. We have signed agreements with these 6 companies, and we're in negotiations with these 6. Now, you say that, credibility has been built.
Got it.
Okay, you understand?
Yep.
And because that will come out in due diligence with any legitimate investor. And so you don't want to ever get caught in what people would consider exaggerating, a lie, or being optimistic. Now, of the 6 you do have agreements with, what is the agreement?
One of them is written agreements contractually. The other 5 are a letter of intent.
Okay. Yep. So explain so now we're getting even closer to the truth.
Of course. Yeah.
You showed 12.
Yep.
6 don't actually have agreements.
Yep.
5 of them have letters of intent. Yep. And then one of them has a legitimate agreement. Yep. So really 1 out of 12 of those super impressive logos do you really have a business deal with? Let's start with what that business deal is.
Yep. So it's with BMW.
Okay.
It's a 16-week POC. And at the end of that project...
POC, explain what that is to the audience.
Proof of concept. So we're delivering the beta product in September.
Great.
They'll purchase the unit. And we're, in conjunction with BMW's Munich office, we'll be testing our sensor in their lab and also on the road, on the vehicle.
And so now we get to the moment of truth. You have an agreement with BMW. Amazing.
Yep.
And it's to buy a single sensor, a series of sensors.
Yep.
What's the ballpark value of this deal?
Yep.
Is it for $10,000 or less than $10,000?
So it's for a handful of units.
Okay.
And
How much do the units cost?
Unit price right now is set at $15,000 per unit.
Okay.
Yep.
So they bought a couple of units, which means this is under a $100,000 deal, but it's a 5-figure deal.
Yep.
Okay, so let's pause the action here and have a legitimate conversation with the angel investors in the audience and other founders. This is a great lesson for everybody, and the 5 people who are coming after you right now are fixing all their decks right now and preparing. I am an expert angel investor. You would agree?
Yes.
Okay. And what you have to assume is that I am going to do my homework. You know why? Because I'm an expert angel investor. I do it for a living. I take the work seriously. When you present 12 companies, present it as such. We have one customer. The name of that customer is BMW. They are spending 5 figures with us in the pilot alone. We also have 5 letters of intent with these impressive companies. Those letters of intent, we all know, mean little, except that we got a meeting with them. A letter of intent means maybe they'll use the product. They were willing to sign a piece of paper that has no contractual demands of them. They can rip it up at any time. But they have said, we'd like to see the product. So it's a nice thing they did for us that we can show to investors that they are interested in our product. But you and I know, Jason, a letter of intent is worth the piece of paper that it's printed on. In other words, it's worth 0. But we did get them to sign it, which means we do have friends over there. And if we build something, there's a good chance at least 1, 2, 3 of 4 of the 5 will use it. The other 6 we've been talking to, they're interested. So that's our pipeline. So if presented as a pipeline, you would have more credibility than having people discover after this that it's not. Now, putting aside the technology, I'll ask you a final question as we wrap up here. Elon Musk says you don't need lasers. He says it can all be done with computer vision. You say Elon Musk is a liar in this presentation. Elon Musk is much more successful than you, John. You would agree?
Sure.
Okay, so I'll ask you poignantly. Why is Elon Musk saying that he can do this without LiDAR, and you're saying that you cannot even do it with LiDAR, you need to do it with Loon Wave's specific laser technology that's better than even Google's LiDAR?
Loon Wave technology is the next generation radar sensor. The only sensor technology can function in all weather is radar. So we actually are building the radar technology. So Elon Musk is absolutely right. We don't need LiDAR, but radar is here to stay. And with our technology that has comparable performance as LiDAR and it's all weather, it's a done deal. It's a no-brainer.
So Elon Musk is wrong and you're right?
No, he's correct in that we don't need LiDAR, but we do need radar.
But hasn't he said you don't need radar either, or does he think you need radar too?
I have not read his comments about radar.
All right, so here we go. The reason I asked you that question is I don't know exactly what his position is. He could change his position. But as an investor, I want to push you a little bit and see how you handle the pressure, especially after I caught you in this whole, like, we have 12 customer thing. I'm trying to push you a little bit. I want to see if you got what it takes to actually stand up to grilling. And you know what? I think you did a pretty good job. I think it's is this your first startup?
Yes.
Okay. So you're a first-time founder, but you look like you're over the age of 30 to me. You may have worked somewhere before. And so you got a little work experience. Hopefully this is helpful to you. Always embrace modest traction. Never exaggerate traction.
Got it.
All right. Well done. Let's hear it for John. We'll give you a little golf clap as we let you go.
Thank you.
Hey, everybody, do you want to work with people in multiple locations concurrently, easily, quickly, and with tons of great features? Then I recommend the Cisco Spark board. We use it here in our offices daily and love it, and it makes everything easy. You can get great video meetings, team messaging, digital whiteboarding, file sharing, and calling all in one secure app, and with the gorgeous Cisco Spark board. It works with all of your devices, and the software, Cisco Spark, is free. So you can get the beautiful Cisco Spark software for free, and it's the fastest way to host and join meetings, and it works with industry-leading video systems like the hardware. The Cisco Spark board is the hardware, and that is an all-in-one device that's touch-based. It's basically the largest iPad you've ever seen. You can touch it, you can pinch and zoom, and it's designed for rooms small and large and everything in between, video calling, digital whiteboarding, wireless presentations, all on a 55 or 70-inch gorgeous high-resolution screen. We love it here. It's amazing. The video quality makes you feel, and the audio quality especially, makes you feel like you're in the same room. Please go visit ciscospark.com to learn more and sign up for free. So go ahead and visit ciscospark.com to learn more and sign up for free. We love it, and you're going to love it too. Okay, let's get back to this amazing episode. All right, we've just gotten through our first founder. That went really well. Our next founder is Rima. Rima, you're working on a company called Terah.
Yes,
and you have 2 minutes on the clock. And let's make sure that you're up on the Spark board. You are. Okay, thank you, Cisco Spark board, for providing our beautiful Spark board. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1, go.
Hey everyone, my name is Rima. I'm the CEO of Terah, the high-altitude imaging company that is going to render satellite imaging obsolete. Now, over the past 10 years, there has been billions invested in the satellite space, and the companies were using this money to raise the quality of the images and the update rates we get from space. There are 2 ways that these companies were doing it. So either they were launching big badass satellites that provide very high resolution, but these things are very expensive, so you cannot have many of those, and you end up with low update rates. And then on the other spectrum, you have smaller satellites that provide very bad resolution, but they provide high update rates. So we end up with this problem that timely high resolution and continuously updated imagery of cities doesn't exist. If we consider all the things that fly, there are the drones that fly very low, there are the satellites that fly very super high, and then there's this space in between called near space or stratosphere that is underutilized right now, and there are people moving towards this space, and that's exactly what we do too. So we are launching small agile airships over the cities that hover over the cities and provide a continuous view of the city. Now, one airship is enough for one city, as opposed to the thousands and thousands of satellites in space. The airship provides unprecedented performance. It is persistent, affordable, and performing. For one, we don't need rockets to launch us in space, though they became reusable, but still they are bottleneck for the satellites. And because we are closer to the ground, we can provide twice better resolution than the best satellites. And this image on my slide is actually one that we made a couple of weeks ago using weather balloons. Now, these images, they are not just tests of our technology. They allow us to tap into the geospatial data analytics market already. And the market opportunity is much bigger in different verticals. We sell subscription-based daily bulk imagery access to companies, starting with raw and then moving towards data pipeline. The company is founded by 3 rocket scientists. We make things fly. We worked in European Space Agency, French Space Agency. We are backed by International Astronautical Federation. And thank you. We are Terah and excited to be here.
Very well done. Thank you, Rima. You went a little bit over, but I'll just take that out of our Q&A time. So when assessing something like this, what we're really assessing is really the landscape of choices and then what customers are willing to pay, right? So when I'm looking at this, I'm going, yes, I'm nodding. These large satellites are extremely expensive, and they orbit the Earth every X number of days, so they'll get New York City every 5 days, every 3 days, and you have to put many of them up there if you want to cover the planet, so a lot of them don't cover the entire planet. But there are low Earth orbit satellites, and those are super cheap, and you can put up hundreds of them, but of course they burn out. And I think they have arguably less resolution. I buy that a little bit. They would argue against you that their resolution is much worse. And then there are a ton of people who want to put up balloons. And so we have the Project Loon project. You have drones. And of course, the way we mapped out many of the bombing targets in different wars over the years was to send high-flying planes, 40,000 feet in the air, to take pictures. And they would actually do that with filming cameras, and that was a whole different era. So there's something here for sure. And what I got the sense was that beautiful image you showed us does not exist. And my guess was you've done some tests, because you said we took this one with a weather balloon. Weather balloons are cheap to send up, and you probably put some cameras on a weather balloon. So what I'll ask first is, and please be concise, is that balloon we saw currently flying, or is that a prototype image of what you're going to launch, and when would that launch?
So we flew already many times in Pennsylvania and North Carolina. We did mosaics of big cities, and these images were so.
Hold on.
Yes.
I asked you if the image of the
Is
beautiful, gorgeous Zeppelin looking. Does that exist yet, or no? Or are you using some other technology?
We're working on it.
So that doesn't exist. But you put it in the presentation as if it did. Be careful with that, because if I was listening to the presentation and you said you're charging customers and you said you're flying balloons and you showed it as if it existed. If you're showing something that's a prototype, you should say, here's the prototype of the Zeppelin we'll be launching next year.
Got it.
Right? When does that Zeppelin launch, that beautiful looking Zeppelin? When do you think you'll have
2
that?
years.
In 2 years, okay.
Yep.
So in 2 years, this is what it will look like.
Yep.
We're currently beta testing this, and is the one we're looking at right now with the balloons and then the little thing hanging off of it. Is that the current version?
It's the current version that we
Great.
use. Yeah.
How many times have you flown that current version?
5.
5 times.
Yep.
So here's a better way to do the presentation. Here's our current model. We've flown it 5 times in the last 6 months.
2 months.
2 months. So we've done 5 maiden voyages of this. And here's what the images look like. It's super promising. We were able to get this to fly 5 times for a total of investment of under $1 million in our company so far. So that would then, how much was invested so far to get you to that point?
It's 100,000.
100,000.
Yeah.
So see how impressive that looks? As opposed to feeling like, is this reality? Is this true? Because I saw your Zeppelin and I was like, I don't think that exists. It looks like computer simulated. And then you had that little tell we flew up a balloon.
Yeah.
So remember, great investors are going to ask these questions and figure it all out. Own the modest traction you have. We've flown 5 of these for under 100,000. Each flight that we do costs today about $5,000 to fly it. They last for 3 days in the air or for 30 days in the air. And we don't need to get approval from anybody. So do you need to have approval to fly one of those with the FAA or?
So we just send a notice to the FAA.
Okay, so you do need approval or you just need to alert them?
We're just alerting them.
Got it. And how high did this one get, this prototype?
It's 75,000 feet.
How many days or hours?
It stays a couple of hours.
Couple of hours?
Yes.
And when would it hit couple of days?
So it will hit a couple of days with the airship. So,
with the airship.
Yeah.
The airship will fly for a couple of days.
A couple of weeks.
A couple of weeks, actually,
Yep.
is what you think, right,
Yep.
in 2 years. And you'll need 1 per city. What will they cost if you build 100 of them?
So the unit cost of the airship we estimate to be 700,000, which is about something like a small CubeSat that provides 15 times worse resolution.
Great. So always embracing reality. Just to do a side-by-side comparison, our airship will cost 700,000.
Yeah.
It will cover a city, so we can cover all of America with 400 of these. 400 of them will cost this amount. To do the same with satellites would cost this amount. And let me show you a side-by-side image. Here's low Earth orbit satellite. Here's our image, and here's the other one. So you can just show it side by side, because that's the next thing people are going to want to know, because you're making this claim side by side. Then you did a slide also, you making this claim that's better. It's better to prove that. So currently, are the images from this prototype better than satellite, or will it get better?
They are better 10 times.
10 times.
In resolution.
And you believe they'll get even better?
Even better.
Got it. But the satellite companies are saying they're going to get better too. So
not really. So, I mean, they can push the technology, but you cannot fight the physics. You really need a big telescope on a satellite to have high resolution.
Great.
And because we're closer to the ground, we have the advantage right there.
Amazing. So now you're building up that credibility because you're answering these questions so well, right? You had a slide with how you're going to make money. That is a complete guess, correct? You don't have anybody paying that money currently.
We have LOIs. We have 4 LOIs with geospatial data.
Okay, so you have 4 LOIs,
Yep.
letters of intent.
Yeah.
And explain to the audience what a letter of intent is and what those customers are contractually obligated to do.
So the customers are obligated. In letter of intent, there is no obligation, right?
Okay, so there's zero obligation on the people who sign those.
I mean, it's letter of intent. There is no legal obligation.
And my point is,
Yeah. So
I want to have an honest discussion with founders of this, and you should just own that. We have letters of intent. There is no legal obligation, because sometimes a letter of intent could say, we will spend this amount within this number of years. There could be a kill fee in it or whatever. But your letters of intent are just friends of yours or people you pitched who say, I'll give you the letter of intent to entice investors, correct?
no, so it depends. So there are different ones that we signed. Some of them mention timeline where these letter of intents become contracts and how much people will pay. And this number that I had on my slide was actually discussed with
So
them.
these letters of intent will convert to paid contracts?
Yeah, and in fact,
Wait. Contractually, they'll convert to a paid contract at a certain date, or you'd have to then get them to sign another contract?
we'll have to get them to
Great,
sign the
okay.
contract.
Because that would be interesting too if they said like, now why haven't, if this is so powerful and amazing, I'll end with this. If this is so powerful and amazing and such an amazing deal, why can't you get any of these clients to invest in the company or pay in advance for the service to have an exclusive?
So we are actually discussing something with one of the companies that we work with.
To invest in your company?
No,
or to have a pilot,
to
paid
start
pilot?
paid pilots
Okay.
in April, May.
How much more money do you need to get to the point at which people will pay you and have that Zeppelin? You said the Zeppelin's coming in 2 years. You've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars to get to here. I'm going to just pick a number, 300,000, 400,000 to get here?
To get to revenue,
To get to here right now. At this point today, how much has been invested in the company and spent?
100,000.
That's it.
That's it.
Amazing. So now you're super capital efficient. To get to the day the Zeppelin launches with a paid customer, how many millions of dollars will you need? And how many full-time employees will you have on that day the Zeppelin launches in your estimation, your plan?
The total spending from today till the Zeppelin flies over a city will be about 6 to 7 million
With a customer.
with the customer.
So it'll take you $7 million to get to day one of revenue. Okay, good. That's honest.
No. I think we diverged a bit. So with the balloons already, we can start generating revenue.
Oh, you can.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Exactly. So this April, May that I'm mentioning is actually with the balloons.
Oh, okay, great. So with the 1.0 product, you're going to be making money as
Already,
soon
yeah.
as 90 days.
Kind of. Yes.
Wow. Okay, great. And so they might spend thousands of dollars a month with that, but it will not be enough to make it profitable.
Exactly. So it will be enough to sustain the operations team because the discussions that we are having is weekly launches for 10,000 per launch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So your goal, Rima, is to, when you're meeting with an investor, you know this, the goal right now is not to get me to invest or to convince me to invest right now. It's to make me intrigued by you, the team, the opportunity, and the technology, or some combinations of that. I can tell you checked off every box. I'm intrigued by you and the team. It looked interesting. I'm intrigued by the technology. I'm intrigued by the market. And I'm intrigued by the vision of this, that, hey, we could have these low Earth orbit satellites. I'm also terrorized by the potentiality of this turning into a Black Mirror episode. So if I'm terrorized and it has Black Mirror, just so you know, if something has Black Mirror potential, I'm going to take a second meeting. So you earn the second meeting. I'm super fascinated. I want to get your monthly updates. Okay, let's give a golf clap for Rima. Well done. All right, we've seen two great companies. One of them trying to make self-driving cars navigate in snow and fog. That's an important edge case. And in fact, we saw that John and Loon Wave are building for that specific edge case. That's how great self-driving is becoming, and how advanced we're getting is that people are thinking about the 1% of the time that you may run into fog in your drive. Or if you're like me and you take the 280 to work here in San Francisco, that's about 6% of the time. And then we saw Rima from Swift Era, which is doing really interesting low Earth satellite imaging, not from satellites, but from balloons. Okay, next up is Mark from Robotics. Mark, are you ready to go?
You bet.
All right, 3, 2, go.
Thanks. Mark DeSantis, CEO, co-founder of Robotics. 2,000 years ago, the Romans built a 50,000-mile road network across Europe and North Africa. One of the things they did really well is they inspected the heck out of those roads. The way they inspected them is they had a chariot and a guy called a lictor who sat on the chariot, and as it rolled down the road like here, you see the Appian Way, he made notes, and then he'd give that to the Public Works Department for that local city, and then they'd make a road repair. Incredibly, little has changed since then. We're going to change that. We're going to bring machine learning to road inspection. So how are roads inspected now? The vast majority of roads are inspected, not unlike the Romans. The only difference is they don't use a chariot, they use a Ford F-150. The way it is they put two guys in a truck and they drive around on that road and make notes of what they see along the road. And then they hand that to the local public works department, and then fixes are ideally brought about. The problem with that is it's very subjective, it's tedious, and it's very cumbersome, and it's sort of the better than nothing mode. There are expensive alternatives to this, machines that have sophisticated sensors that roll over the road and collect the data. The problem is that run you about $500 to $700 a mile. So really what you need for road inspection is you have to make it efficient, precise, and very inexpensive, and that's what we do. Before I tell you how we do it, let's tell you what we're doing. Specifically, when you think of a road, a simple road surface, pavement, or concrete, you're looking for the features that are unique to pavement. For example, you would look at things like block cracks, edge cracks, and a variety of other things. You're not just looking for potholes. You're looking for roads that are before potholes that are not quite good and not quite bad. If you can see those, you can change the nature of road maintenance. We do it with machine learning developed at Carnegie Mellon University at the Robotics Institute. We have 22 customers in 8 states across the United States. I'm particularly proud of that fact because the company's only a year old. Simple solution, download it into an app. Phone with the app is posted on the windshield, collects all the raw data, goes up to the cloud. That's where our magic begins, and a map similar to the image you see here is produced for a public works department or an entity that services the public works department. We collect the data right now, but we're working with a variety of large fleets that are on the road every day, so we can get into what I call passive collection scenarios. Essentially have vehicles that are already on the road with a cell phone in the windshield collecting the data. Our first customer was had in May. As I said, we have 22 customers as of today in I believe 10 states, and our annual contract value is up to $210,000. We're an experienced group of entrepreneurs, and we're looking forward to answering your questions.
All right, well done. You went way over, but that's okay. I'm going to leave this. It's okay. I'm going to leave it was so good. I felt like, you know what? I'm not going to have as many questions if I let you go 45 seconds over.
Yep.
And looking at this slide, Mark,
Yep.
Robotics, this is the one I would drill into.
Yep.
Because what's happening is here, the most wonderful thing that can happen for any startup, early traction.
Yep.
Why do investors love early traction? Because it shows us that the patient might be alive. There might be something here. It's the equivalent of if we were in There Will Be Blood and we were tapping looking for oil, that we saw like a little puddle and we started drilling into it, and then it felt like it was a little oily, and then we drill a little bit further and a little bit of a spigot of oil comes out, and we wonder, wow, I wonder if this little dribble of oil could be a gusher. That's what we love to see. So you're going to get a great response with this slide, which was probably your 10th. Mm-hmm. And there's an argument to be made often to lead with your strongest slide or the strongest thing. And so here's just a pro tip for you.
Yep.
Hi, I'm Jason Calacanis. I am the CEO of Robotics. We are we check roads for imperfections, potholes, cracks, and we have a pilot customer right now who's spending over $200,000 a year with us. Let me explain why they're spending over $200,000 a year from us. So that's just one tip. Start with what's strongest. So I was really taken by the fact that you set up the problem so well. This is another classic presentation skill that you have that some other people don't, which is, let me just start with the problem. Here's the state of affairs today. Number one, people are doing this with human eyes, just like the people did in the Romans. That was a little bit of a long-winded story, but it was pretty good. I liked it. But that's what took so much time to get to the point. And there are also these machines that are very expensive. Little pro tip here. You talked about that machine. You showed that machine.
Yep.
You never said how expensive it is. Why not say? This is a $2 million machine. It came out back in 2012. It's not using state-of-the-art technology. And the way they charge is $1,000 a mile, $100 a mile. So to do your city is going to roughly cost $10 million. We can do that same work for under $1 million. We're 1/10 the price, whatever it is. So if you show a competitor and you say they're outdated and expensive, actually plant a flag and say, hey, here's why they're so expensive. I'm going to have some questions. I was curious about how good the technology is if it's looking at the road ahead of it versus facing down. So answer that quickly. Why wouldn't you build something that was facing down on the earth and getting a straight shot, or does the dashboard cam do just as well?
Dashboard cam does just as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. That's all we need to know.
Yep.
We know that now. Now, let's drill into how you're making $200,000 here.
Yeah.
You have one customer.
We have 20 customers.
You have 20 customers. Okay, on the slide it says first pilot, first customer. Got it. And that real upswing is when you have 20.
Yep.
And on the side, that's hundreds of thousands of dollars, not $200, right? It's
Correct,
$200,000. So you want to just put a K there. First pilot, first paying customer. And then you would, if you're going to say first pilot, first paying customer, you're going to say when you hit the 10 customer mark, et cetera, just so we follow in the charts a little bit clearer. But there's an inflection point. Anytime you have a massive inflection point, it's up to you to say how many. And here it says annual contract value signed and verbal commitments. You know what I'm going to say about that, which is verbal commitments mean nothing. LOIs mean nothing. Now I have to wonder, is the spike because somebody told you they're going to spend $100,000 a year with you? So let's get to reality.
Sure.
2018, as of February 1st, 2018, or just up to January.
Yeah.
What is the annual contract value and how do you charge?
It's actually 190K signed, so this is a little dated.
Okay.
We picked up a couple this week, actually. So it's 190K. There's a commitment.
190K signed across 22 customers,
in
which means
10
each
states.
customer pays $10,000 a year.
Yeah. We charge by the mile.
Ah.
So we think of a city as the size of the road
So
network.
10,000 a mile, so you have gotten 20 cities to commit to doing
We do
10,000 miles each.
No. We charge by the mile. We charge currently at $75. We just increased our price from $50 a mile to $75 a mile.
Okay, so they've all committed to doing 100, 200 mile pilots with you. Great.
And actually, it varies between our smallest is 50. We just acquired. It's a city that's in the I think it's 1,500 miles.
Awesome.
It's not reflected.
Hey,
in
let
that
me ask you a
number.
question. Did you work in government or in roads in some way before this?
I did work for the federal government for 14 years in Washington, D.C.
Okay, doing what?
I worked in the White House. I worked on Capitol Hill. I worked for a federal agency. I worked for a consultant in the government.
So, and first-time founder?
This is my third company.
Third company. First-time venture-backed type founder?
Nope,
or
nope.
other ones were venture-backed as well?
2 other venture-backed companies prior to this.
Okay, any of those go public? Any
No
of those
public.
get bought for over 100?
2 were acquired, not for 100 million, less than that, but 2 were ultimately acquired.
Okay, great. So here's what I'll say. I love founders who are at it for the third time. My friend Travis, Uber was his third. So you learn a lot. And so that can be an asset in my mind. And I think you're on to something. You definitely would earn a second meeting. I would want to learn more. I'm a little concerned about the pricing of this and how you go about pricing it. But it does seem pretty great to me, and I have a lot of ideas around marketing that I think could be super powerful for a startup like this, which is literally having citizens put this on their dashboard and having them report on, the stuff they're upset about and posting it to YouTube. So I actually could see this, like the Ring doorbell does a great job of saying, like, here's people stealing, here's the video of it.
Yep.
I would like for you to give this to me when I lived in LA so I could record exactly how horrible Sunset was and how many of my Tesla's low rim tires I blew, like literally 4 of them over X number of years, to the point at which I was blowing tires so often on that road, which looked like something out of Baghdad after it was bombed, that I had to change the tires on my car. You literally couldn't have low profile tires on a sports car anymore because of how bad that was. So you could activate a lot of citizens who are pissed off. Mark, incredible job. Let's give him a golf clap, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right, we're going to keep the train moving and meet another founder. I'm going to keep the clock to 2 minutes this time. I'm not going to allow any overtime. So if you got an important slide, make sure you get it. Your name is Raphael?
Yes.
Okay, Raphael, one of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or the great artist. And you have a company, QUCIT, that's totally unpronounceable. Quicit? Qucit. Okay, we're going to fix that name after in the Q&A session. 2 minutes on the clock, 3, 2, go.
Hi, I'm Raphaël Cherrier. I'm the founder and CEO of QCIT for Quantified Cities, and we use AI to improve well-being in cities. Place de la Nation is a major square in Paris. It's about 400 yards in diameter, and it has a beautiful park in the center of a huge roundabout. The problem is that almost nobody goes there. because you need to cross 8 lanes of traffic to get there. And this is an example of how cities are often designed. The UI is great, but the UX sucks. We've developed a SaaS platform that is pretty much aiming at doing what SimCity does for the real world. Our customers are medium and big companies in transportation, city planning, and real estate. And they use our software to improve the efficiency of their services and to get new insights. We launched commercially 1 year ago after 2 years of R&D, and today we have 15 paying customers in Europe. Some of our customers have signed multi-year contracts and others are on paid trials. Today we are at $300K in annual revenue, and it's doubling every quarter. We are starting first pilot in the United States in Brooklyn. And I'm a PhD in theoretical physics, and I worked on complex system and neural nets before it was cool. I was a tenured professor at the university. We are a diverse team of CD lovers and AI geeks, 5 PhDs, 12 amazing engineers in total from 5 different countries. And up until now, we have managed to bootstrap the company, and we have decided to participate in the Urbanics program to accelerate and expand in the United States. And we are raising our seed round.
Okay, well done. You did it in under 2 minutes, which was great. The name, I sort of was giving you a little ribbing there as we started. Yeah. The number one rule when you're having a name for a company is that people can spell it and Google it or type in .com after it, and it doesn't have to be .com, but it would be helpful if it was, is that people can spell it. Now, when you say Quisit?
Yeah,
Quisit. So it's going to be very hard for people to figure out how to spell that, or pronounce it. So you want to change the name to something that is explicitly easy to pronounce and then maybe has some meaning, but maybe this has meaning and I just don't get it. What is the meaning of Quisit? How did you come up with this magnifique name?
Thank you. It means quantified cities.
In what language? French? Or no, it's short for that?
Yeah, it's short for that.
Quantified cities. Okay, maybe. I would just call it Q-City. Q-C-I-T-Y. Like, then people will know how to spell it. Q-City, right? We're software that does this. Now, you gave a great example about that circle. Now, when we're founders, examples really matter because examples is how we convince people that our company deserves to exist in the world and will change everything. So you showed an example of that circle. I looked at that circle and I said, yes, that circle is never going to change in all likelihood. The city would have to change it. It would cost tens of millions of dollars to build bridges. That would destroy the look. Maybe he's going to build a tunnel, or maybe they're going to get rid of the circle. I don't know. And so I think that circle is an example of poor planning by a city from hundreds of years ago. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Are you solving that problem for that city, for that circle?
Actually, what we're solving with them is we're giving insight to urban planners to donate.
No. You're jumping the gun. That specific circle, where is that circle? Or is that just
in Paris?
It's in Paris.
Yes, and we're working with them on that.
Who?
Currently.
The Paris government?
The city of Paris.
The city of Paris has paid you to solve that problem.
We're not solving it by itself, but yes, they're paying us to help to provide a tool to their urban planning teams.
Got it.
To solve the problem better.
To solve that specific problem of that circle or other problems they might face?
Yeah, actually, it's got 7 squares like that.
So they're going to use it. What has your software taught them, and what is the solution your software has told them to do?
For example, our software helps them plan where they put the children playground in an optimal place.
In that circle?
In that circle.
So you're going to run your kids across the 8 lanes of traffic?
Yeah, for example.
So your software told them to put a children's park in there and run your kids across 8 lanes of traffic?
No, actually, they're going to restrain the 8 lanes to 4 lanes. And they decided that before we arrived. What our software provides is like a sunlight map, but for people's feeling, in order to optimize, for example, where you put the children playground. You want it to be a safe place and a clean place, and we can tell you that.
Okay, so the safest place to put a children's playground is across 4 to 8 lanes of traffic in the middle of traffic.
No, it's not in the middle.
You wouldn't put one there.
Not in the middle, on the sides.
On the side, great. Okay, so my point is, when you put an example out there, and you frame the problem, you should give the payoff of the solution. So when you showed that second, image of the yellow, you never explained our software analyzed this and said people would use this if it was 4 lanes. But after 4 lanes, it turns out people avoid anything more than 4 lanes. It's just too scary. So you also need parking in that area. So what we've decided to do is put a ring of parking around the circle, which would create a natural barrier, create more whatever it is you're decided to do. So I felt like, is that the best example of your software at work that you can think of? Is that the time your software came up with the best solution? Or is there a better example where you like literally advised the city through your AI and your software and analyzing it, and they actually implemented it and did something incredible? Is there a better example? I'm curious.
Well, we work in modeling people's perception of the urban space. And a good example we've done is in optimizing street sweeping. And we're able to model how people perceive the cleanliness on the environment, and telling them how often they should sweep every street in a city in an optimal way.
I'm fascinated by what you're doing. I think cities need analysis of what's going on. But where you haven't convinced me as an investor, and you might have the most revenue of everybody, you might have the best business, but I'm not convinced right now. I'm struggling to believe, and listen, I'm the guy who wants to believe. I am a crazy gambler who wants to believe that he is going to hit the 1% chance to win. So I want to believe, but your examples are so weak that I can't get over the hurdle. So I'm going to try again to try to believe. And here's the next way I'll try to believe. You showed 20 customers?
15.
15. And you showed 15 full-time people, right?
Yeah.
In that picture. How many full-time employees do you have?
15.
15. So you have 15 full-time employees in France?
Yes.
So that's costing you about $7,000 US per employee, $100,000 per person. So you are burning $2 million. You spend about $2 million a year?
Much less than that.
Oh, it's cheaper to hire people
Much
in France.
cheaper.
Okay. So you're spending $1 million a year, $1.5 million.
No, less than that. Less than $1 million.
Less than $1 million. Amazing. So you're cash efficient. You're spending $1 million a year. So you have 15 customers. So that means each of those customers on average is spending what with you?
Actually,
$50K a year, $5K a month?
Actually, it's pretty recent. We launched only 1 year ago commercially.
Okay. Yep.
And so the size of the contract we signed has been going from, the biggest contract was 40K, 50K 1 year ago. And now
is that 50K a year reoccurring? Next year they pay 50K?
That was a
one
pilot
time?
of 50K. And now our biggest contract is a 5-year contract, which is worth 600K euro, actually, 700K.
Over 5 years?
Over 5 years.
So they're paying $130,000 a year, $140,000 a year, $10K a month. How do you charge? $10K a month?
Actually, they pay half of it up front.
Half a front.
Yeah.
Amazing. So here's what happens in a situation like this where I'm trying to figure things out. I can't understand exactly why this software needs to exist from your examples, but I can't believe that somebody is giving you $700,000 and gave you $350,000 of it up front. And I'm guessing they're not stupid because they have money and they gave you a bunch of it. So this puts me in this position of being confused and intrigued, which is not the worst place to be. It makes me want to meet your customer and talk to them more. Now, you're going to keep this company in France, or are you going to be successful and move it here to America?
Actually, the plan is to raise a seed fund in America.
And so move the headquarters here?
And move the headquarters here, yeah.
But you'll keep your people in France?
Yeah, of course, they're 3 times as less expensive.
Right. And if you fire them, you have to pay 18 years salary.
Not exactly.
Not 18?
It's changing with Emmanuel Macron.
It's changing. Only 10 years you have to pay for them? And for their spouse's salary and pay their kids through school?
Yeah, probably.
Socialism. Is it hard to be a founder in France?
No, it's very easy, actually.
Is it?
Yeah.
They're getting more founder-friendly?
What?
Are they more founder-friendly, entrepreneur-friendly?
Yeah, it's getting much more entrepreneur-friendly right now.
Let me ask you this. They still charge you that wealth tax where you pay 1% on all the money you have?
I think it's over.
It's over? Because that's the reason I would never move there. People don't understand the wealth tax. You have to count up all your assets. I own 4 Teslas. I'd have to pay 1% of the cost of those Teslas every year over 10 years. It'd be a lot of money.
Yeah.
All right. So what have we learned? France is doing well. This company needs a name that people can pronounce. Obviously, there's something very real here, and I don't understand it, which just if you're an angel investor and you were hearing this pitch, I want to let you know that your spidey sense should be going off. If you don't understand it and it's making money, that means it could be a huge opportunity because our minds are limited. We only know what we've experienced. But you know something radically different, Raphael, which is your customers. We don't know why they're spending this money. We don't know how you did it. We don't know exactly how your software works. We don't know exactly what the value proposition is here in only 10 minutes. But boy, if people are giving you half of that 5-year contract in advance, that's a big difference than getting 100 LOIs that they're worth the paper it's printed on. You got 100 sheets of blank paper. All right, let's give a big, warm golf clap to Raphael and QSIT, soon to be QCity.
Thank you.
All right, we're moving really quickly through these 6 amazing startups. And here's what I'll tell you about accelerators. Accelerators and incubators are sometimes a great way for investors to meet founders. Sometimes they are not. Not all incubators are created equal. Some of them, candidly, are the funding of last resort for startups that could not make it in the real world. And they're desperate, so they join that incubator. Other incubators are a positive signal, and then there's a bunch in between where you're going to have to drill down. UrbanX happens to be one of the new accelerators and incubators that I look at and say, I know that they only accept a small number of people, they work deeply with them, and they have a high standard. If an incubator is accepting 40, 50, 60, 70, 100 people, you can be sure there'll be more variability than if they just, picked 5, 6, or 7, which is what I do in the launch incubator. I only accept 7. So as you can see, all of these are very interesting companies. Another thing you're going to want to think about when coming out of an incubator for people who are joining incubators is that you want to start raising money from the day you join that incubator because you're in competition with the other people, and whatever happens on demo day, it's going to be who gets to who is the sexiest, most interesting, biggest company out of your cohort. And if you happen to have some amazing company in there, you might not get funded just because of competition. So I say start raising early and start raising from people not only in your incubator or not only who are coming to mentor, but outside of it, using the incubator as a little bit of a tool to get meetings. You want to also, if you're an angel investor going to these incubators, take your time. Meet with the companies 3 or 4 times. Do not get pressured into investing unnaturally. Next up, we have Mirav, and she is with Versatile Natures. Sure. Versatile Natures. You have 2 minutes on the clock. 3, 2, go.
Okay. So I come from a family of builders. And on one evening when we were discussing the problems that cause accidents, as well as projects being delayed and over budget, my partner started drafting a solution on a Post-it. That note got the interest of one of Israel's top general contractors. So they supported us through proof of concept and on-site development. Now they're a paying customer. Hi, I am Mirav Oren, and I'm the CEO and proud co-founder of Versatile Natures. Cranes, they're strategic on construction sites and responsible for most critical workflows. So we use them to gather data and actually understand what's happening on site. We use the data to learn the process and compare what's happening with the construction plans. Then we give directions. It's like Waze, only directing people on construction sites to stay on plan. What we don't do, and most construction startups actually do, is ask people to record and report. We literally collect the data over their heads in a 6-second installation process. And by communicating directly on tools they already know and use, we avoid the need to adopt new screens or dashboards. So only a fraction of our capabilities were demonstrated in our successful implementation, but we proved our potential to double their margins, speed up construction, and increase safety. We're now launching in over 15 sites. We're in conversation with the largest general contractors in the US, and in partnership with Autodesk. We bootstrapped through revenue and now backed by urban and industry leaders. And our core technology teams actually comes from Intel, representing an industry that has been using sensors and machine learning for years to achieve the highest level of productivity and control over manufacturing. This is our vision for construction. Thank you.
Okay, well done. Okay, now, here's what I'll say.
Sure.
This seemed incredibly boring to me and like a business that I cannot believe does not exist, and that is going to print money. Now, I like businesses that print money and that are unsexy. You know why? People are not going to come compete with you because it's not sexy enough, it's not interesting enough. A bunch of millennials coming out of school are not going to want to build a tool to make cranes smarter. You come from a construction family, you have passion for this space, and you saw something that was old, had not been updated in a long time, and critical, which is the crane. The crane is the key piece of equipment, right?
It is.
And so you created a smart crane add-on. This is a tool you add, a device, an IoT device, you add to a crane. It goes on the big hook at the end of the crane and extends the crane like a fishing lure might. And then you hook whatever else was going to be on there. And I'm guessing it tells you GPS coordinates of that item. It tells you the weight and the duration of a lift. It tells you perhaps the height by using visual sensors to understand the floor. It could take video in 360 degrees of what's happening. And it could also tell you with an accelerometer if this one crane operator is a little too loosey-goosey and swinging this around and avoid deaths. Did I get it right?
Yes, you did.
And you told me none of that.
See?
Because it's obvious to me. When you just look at your smartphone, whatever your smartphone can do, it tells you when it tilts, it tells you when it drops, it tells you all of these things. This is what you can do. On a safety basis alone, it should be a requirement. You should not be able to operate a crane without one of these. And all the video should be stored in the cloud because when cranes fall, people die. And tens of millions of dollars are lost. And these cranes are rented. And the cost of cranes is expensive. People don't understand this, but the people who are using the cranes are renting them from another company. That company, like a car company that is, renting cars, they want to know how it's being used. If you think people on GetAround want to know if people are speeding when they borrow their Mini Coopers, what do you think somebody who owns a $20 million crane wants to know? They want to know if you're screwing this up. It's a brilliant idea. I can't believe it's not being done. How long did it take you to get to this amazing point, and how much money was invested to get to today?
18 months, most of it bootstrapping. We have raised over $1 million just in the last couple of months, but up until then, we were bootstrapping. It's our own time. We did win Mass Challenge really early on, so we had some non-dilutive cash.
Okay, so you spent sweat equity.
Sweat equity.
Bootstrapping. Now, how many of those devices have you made? How many are in the field?
So we're currently live on one site, going on the next.
Great.
Right now.
So you heard the other people exaggerate what's going on and you kept it real.
Yep.
I like the fact that you're only on one crane.
There are 3 cranes there, though.
There are 3 cranes there. So you're on one site with 3 devices?
True. Yeah.
Perfect. The device costs less than $3,000 or $4,000 to build?
They will cost at scale less than 2.5K, currently about 5K.
Perfect. So I guessed it exactly again, because I do this for a living. So it cost you $5,000 to make one of these. And I'm guessing you could rent this for, I don't know, $5,000 a month per crane, $60,000 a year per crane. What are you charging?
We're actually charging per site. This is a pure SaaS model.
Okay, per site?
We cover the hard cost within 2 to 3 months of the contract, and then it's a SaaS play.
So what do you think the SaaS cost will be?
It will be about 100K per year per site.
And that will give you up to X number of cranes or unlimited cranes?
So we actually have 3 different models for smaller, medium, and large sites. The average would be 100K.
Per crane?
per site.
Okay. So if I had one crane on my site for 1 year of construction, what would you charge me?
It would be about 40 to 50K.
And the reason I'm asking that is I want to know per crane, because then I can do, and you can do what we call a bottom-up analysis, not top-down. We don't want to know that you're going to get X percent of construction. What we want to know is how many cranes are in the world, how many cranes are in cities, countries that care about safety, that will pay for this, because there are countries that don't care about human life to the extent that maybe Israel, the United States, and Europeans do. There might be places where people are like, you know what, I'm not spending whatever it is, $4,000 a month on this. That's a waste of money. So you can build up a really nice model. How many full-time employees in the company currently?
We currently have 7 going on 10.
I love it. Okay. Based in Israel, Tel Aviv?
Yes.
Okay. So what I love about Israeli entrepreneurs, and I'm going to speak very generally here, is they focus on real businesses that generate revenue that are needed in the world. And my favorite part is anybody working on this has done a year of service. And so half of your engineers are jet fighter pilots. How many jet fighter pilots are on your team?
None. Most of them went through the computer science units in the Army.
It's my standard joke, because every Israeli founder I meet has a picture of themselves, I bet you have this as well, holding a helmet, standing in front of a fighter jet.
So the only one that would have that is actually me.
Right. So you flew. It's just an ongoing joke. I think Israel has like 7 planes and about 7,000 people in the army at any given point in time. So each person gets 10 minutes in front of the plane to take a picture and send it to their mom.
I happen to be an officer in a F-16 squadron, so...
You are. You happen to be. I nailed it. Okay. All right. Well, listen, everybody knows that I spent a little time in the Mossad. Sometimes you need an Irish kid to go on a mission.
True.
You need somebody who can go in, zip, 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 take care of business. To my friends in the Mossad. This is amazing. All right. Listen, honestly, I'm versatile natures. I have no idea what that name means, but one of the other great things I love about your business is if you make this work, there are 17 other devices that I'm not even aware of that are used on construction sites, like the elevator or jackhammers, that you could start making smart, and then all of a sudden you can upsell, hey, we're going to do your 4 cranes, but we're also going to do your elevators, so you know who's going up and down the elevators, and you could become the smart construction company. It's a huge vision. It's brilliant, and I think it's got uncapped potential. Big golf clap for Merav. I'll get it. Merav. Well done.
Thank you.
Unbelievable. Okay, everybody, we've been zipping through these 6 amazing startups. Hopefully you're learning a lot as a founder about how to pitch and what angels think is interesting in the questions we ask and why we ask those questions. Hopefully you're getting a little inspiration in that some of these companies do incredibly boring things and print money, and those become huge opportunities that are wedge strategies. What's a wedge strategy? That's where you get yourself on the construction site, but then you find 5 more things to do once you're on the construction site. Or you sell into a city and then you upsell them on more products and services. Thank goodness we have this gorgeous Spark board here from Cisco to make presentations easy and delightful. We use it all the time here at This Week in Startups for our team meetings, and it is epic. I love my Cisco Spark board. You can do whiteboarding, you can do group sharing, you can get remote people in, and it's got a ton of speakers and a great camera, and it works brilliantly. Okay. Ezra, you're from Upshift. You have 2 minutes on the clock. Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay. Batting cleanup, last but certainly not least, is Ezra from Upshift. 3, 2, go.
Hi, I'm Ezra, co-founder and CEO of Upshift, and we're building a car subscription service that makes it easy to leave the city without the cost and hassle of owning a car. So owning a car in the city sucks. Either you park it on the street and you get your windows smashed and you have to move it every week for street sweeping, or you pay $350 a month for a garage. And with all the options now for getting around the city and getting to work, most people only need a car to get out of the city on weekends for getaways and to go to South Bay, for example, for business meetings midweek. And it doesn't really make sense for people to spend $800 a month on a lease, parking, and insurance on a car they rarely drive. So the solution is really a car subscription that is a flexible alternative. You only pay for what you use. You can cancel anytime. Whenever you need a car, you just text our number and we deliver a new clean Prius right to your door. You drive it anywhere you like. When you're done, we'll valet park it, gas it, clean it for you, and you go on your way. It's $259 a month for 4 days a month of use. And you get unlimited rollover of unused days and $65 a day thereafter. This includes full coverage insurance, delivery, tax, everything included. We've gotten 5-star reviews since we launched San Francisco a year and a half ago. We are creating, turning parking space into parklets by enabling people to live without having a car in the city and reducing carbon emissions and improving our air quality. And we are getting 7 times more signups now since we positioned the company to focus on subscriptions in the last few months. And we have built a SMS-based platform, and we are now building out fleet logistics and fleet management and logistics software, as well as connecting all of our Priuses with telematics. And we have a custom mileage-based insurance product that we have developed, and we also have commercial fleet leasing arrangement already locked down to scale nationally. And we see an opportunity to do $400 million in annual sales with $1,900 per car per month, with $300 of that in EBITDA. And our operations are to centrally store and dispatch a unified fleet of identical Priuses by bicycle. And this enables us to slash costs on the number of vehicles we need, the parking spaces we need, as well as the delivery times. And there's no regulatory barriers to launch this in any market. And this is a platform we are building to scale to autonomous fleets in the future, because somebody still needs to clean the cars, and that's going to be us. So I've been in shared transportation for 19 years, and I have a master's in city planning from MIT. My co-founder is an operations rock star. Thank you for your time.
All right. Incredibly well done. Thank you, Ezra. Now, I was prepared to hate this because whenever you get into car ownership, I said, oh, my goodness. I'm an investor in Uber, and I know everybody's going full Uber because it's getting so cheap. And then I also own a couple of Teslas with self-driving, and I think that that's going to happen in 10 years, that we'll have point-to-point. Obviously, we heard earlier there are some edge cases that make it harder, but obviously the self-driving revolution will be here. In my estimation, level 4 or 5, full autonomy, you can sleep in the car in any weather conditions, is 10 to 18 years out, somewhere in that range. So you've got a great business for at least that amount of time. I'm not sure if I buy that cleaning cars is going to be a great business when it does arrive. Now, $250 a month, 4 days, $6,000 a year, $6,000 a year, 48 days. Let's round it up to 50. So it's going to cost me about $120 a day every time I use a car. Is that right? 100?
65.
65 a day.
Yeah, $259 for 4 days a month, so 65 a day.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, and actually we have
oh no, you're right. I said 6,000 a year. Sorry, 250 times 10 is okay. It's 3,000 a year and change to have a Prius. Mm-hmm. To use it up to 4 days. What happens when I want to use it for 2 extra days?
65 a day thereafter.
Got it. What happens on Memorial Day weekend when everybody wants their car?
So we have a pay-per-use model as well, and we use that to manage the utilization throughout the fleet so that we really optimize for our subscribers, and we make sure that there's guaranteed availability for them up until at least the last minute.
But other people can rent a car for 65
Right, and so that enables us to balance out the load when there's low off-peak demand.
How many years do you use the car?
Right
when
now
do you
they're
retire
on 3
a car?
Right now they're 3 years. I'd like to get it down to a year and a half or 2.
So you want to use them for 2 years. They'll be driven 350 days a year or something like that. Mm-hmm. And so after 2 years, you'll have put 700 days and probably 100 miles a day on it or something like that.
Something like that.
So they'll have 70,000 miles. You retire them after that and sell them to Lyft and Uber drivers?
Whoever will buy them.
Got it. And so how long has this business existed? Because I think I may have heard of it, and maybe you were just doing the sort of silver car and other people who just make it easier to rent a car. Is that right?
We actually initially started with a fractional ownership model. So could you and I co-own a car? We thought that was too difficult with availability concerns. Yeah. And so one of the issues that came up was, where's the car going to be stored? How do I get access to it? So we said, hey, we'll deliver it. People said, wow, that's awesome. I want the delivery part. So we said, okay, let's table the fractional for now. Let's focus on delivery, strip away all the friction and complexity of all the existing business models, and then back our way into subscriptions.
When did you announce subscriptions, and in which city?
In San Francisco. We're only in San Francisco.
When did you announce subscriptions?
We just announced it 2 months ago or so.
So you have 2 months of data?
Yep. Well, we have some of our members have been using it up to 3 times a week, and they're spending about $9,500 a year with us.
When they were doing it per day.
She's now bumped up to an 8-day package.
Got it. So she pays $500 a month for 8 days?
She's actually paying, last month she spent $788 with us.
But that was on the per day basis.
No, she had a 4-day package. She's just bumped
But I
it
thought
up
you
to
just
8
launched
days.
that 2 months ago.
We just launched the 4-day. We actually also just added a 6 and 8-day package.
Okay, so what I'm trying to get to, and you're making it super confusing, is how long have you offered subscriptions to consumers?
Just the last couple months. So we just started getting
Okay.
people signing up in January.
So in January, you started doing it. How many people signed up from your existing base of customers in the last 5 weeks? And how many customers did you offer this to?
So we have 4 people so far who've signed up just for the subscription package. Most of the people are on
How many
pay
people?
per use.
Not what I asked.
Yeah.
The question I asked was how many subscribed and
Yeah.
how many did you email to get those 4 subscribers? So I'm trying to get the numerator and denominator.
Yeah, so
so
we've-
4 people did
yeah.
it in the first month. How did you acquire those 4? I'm assuming you did it from your they were existing customers? You
No, some of them
converted.
are new. So it's
Okay.
actually a totally different customer base. We've discovered that the pay-as-you-go.
Not what I asked you?
Well,
Listen to my question.
No, but it's related. So the customer base that we have right now is mostly pay-as-you-go, and so we email them, but we don't expect a lot of them to convert because
Okay,
it's actually
so
different.
what I'm still trying to get at
Yep.
is those 4 people.
Yep.
How many people did you email in your database? 1,000 or 100,000 to get how many to convert?
We have about 500 people that we emailed.
Got it.
So-
So that's simple,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
So
so-
500 you emailed,
Yeah.
and 2 of the 4 are from that, and 2 came directly?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
So 1 out of every 250 people you emailed converted,
Of the people who are in our existing database. So
right?
our-
And then how many people in your existing database total do you have?
so there's 550 who are signed up, and then we have emails and phone numbers for more than that. Probably another.
Who have used it before with the single day use or?
Yeah, in various ways. Yeah, we had different
Okay.
sign up flows in the past.
So what I'm trying to get there and what you should do when talking to an investor is try to think about what I'm trying to figure out. It was very clear from my questions.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out of your existing customer
Yep.
base, how many would convert. So you got 2 out of 500 in the first month. That means maybe by month 6, if you got 2 a month to convert, you'd have 12 out of 500. If you got 12 out of 500, that would be 6%. Interesting. It's just an interesting data point.
So the reason I push back is because I think a lot of those people who are pay per use are different users, and so we actually
Sure.
need a different pipeline for subscribers.
You might, yeah, but that's what I was trying to get at.
Yeah.
That's why I want to know how many did you email to get those, and then how did you acquire the other 2?
They came from Google Ads.
Google Ads, great.
Yep.
How much did you have to spend?
$35.
$35 per click or $35 in
Per
total
sign up.
per sign up? Got it.
Sign up.
Okay, so you were paying $1 a click and converted 1 out of
60 cents,
35?
I think.
Okay,
59
so you
cents.
converted 1 out of 75 clicks to subscribe.
Something like that. Yeah.
Great. So the reason I'm asking you all this stuff is I want to, not because I actually care too much about the answers, it's that I really care that you know, right?
Yep.
And that you're kind of understand where your customers are coming from and where they'll be. This is a business that I would have a very hard time investing in until you had, 500 subscribers or something like that. Most of the venture community is going to look at this and say, too many headwinds from self-driving, too many headwinds from lower cost Uber Pool, Lyft line. And that's going to be your big challenge. My best suggestion, don't answer.
Okay.
My best suggestion, I don't want you to defend it now. My best suggestion is that you get a decent number of subscribers so that when they challenge you on that, you can just say, here's 100 subscribers that we signed up in the first 90 days, and here's what they said about us. The numbers are going to prove it, not your answer.
Sure.
Sophisticated investors who invested in Uber, Tesla, Cruise, self-driving cars, Lyft, et cetera, are not going to buy the story. They'll only buy the story if you prove it with metrics. Great job. Let's give Ezra a great golf clap.